everyone, Scary Skeleton Reactor here, bringing to you yet another reaction video. This time I'm going to be reacting to 3 true disturbing Postmates / DoorDash stories. Man, why? I mean, well, just reading that makes me feel way too hungry now, and gotta stay focused, gotta stick with the whole diet exercise regimen, so that's gonna be difficult. Not just scary, but difficult to not think with my stomach. But anyways, as you can see, the text again. Yeah. Re-uploading the videos will be acted upon immediately. Yeah, I'm scared, and so far, none of the reactions have been taken down yet, so I'm still on the safe side, fingers crossed, and, yeah, this is just reaction. I'm not being paid for any of this. Yeah, I'm not making money on YouTube or anything. I have an actual job, so, for the time being. So anyways, without further ado, let's get started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start. Oh, and by the way, I think I reacted to the 2 pizza delivery horror stories from last year, I think. So
a very brief 2 months. I worked as a delivery driver for the app DoorDash. It was to make some quick money on the side on the weekends. I live in a suburb of Nevada, so deliveries are usually quick and close. Someone made a big order to a local burger joint, and I accepted the delivery. When the food was finished, I loaded it into my car and checked the destination on the app. It was a house across town in a cul-de-sac. I tended to drive quickly over the speed limit to get more deliveries out, aka get more money.
Well, true, but still respect traffic laws.
Once in a while. And this time, as I was driving up the block towards the cul-de-sac, I saw the sickening glow of the blue and red lights in my rearview mirror.
You know why I stopped you?
I got written a ticket for more money than I'd possibly even make that night. It was a horrible feeling that I'd spent my night doing deliveries only to end up losing money. Still, I had to finish this delivery, albeit a bit late now. After the cop got back in his car, I drove right down towards the cul-de-sac. I got to the house, ran towards the front door, and knocked really hard since there was apparently no doorbell. As I waited for the door to open, I looked around this dark cul-de-sac. I say dark because there weren't any streetlights, only the small amount of light that was given off by the 3 total houses sitting on the street. It was a pretty unusual dead end, not a nice looking spot by any means. The house wasn't exactly the prettiest either. The door finally opened, and an average height bald guy opened the door. He had a grayish beard with brown stains in the middle. His body language and way of behaving was immediately weird, screaming drunk or a drug addict. To top it off, his breath was awful as he said, "How you doing?" in his loud, obnoxious voice. He told me to come in. I told him it was okay, as I held out his bag of food, waiting for him to grab it so I could leave. He said, No, come in, I got something for you.
Not good.
It's okay, I need to be on my way. He said something along the lines of not being able to tip me through the app, so he'd have to give me some cash money. Against my better judgment, I entered the house with his food still in my hand. I heard a car pulling up into the cul-de-sac as I stepped inside. As soon as I cleared the door, the man slammed it shut and told me to follow him to the kitchen and to put the food on the table. For some reason, even as uncomfortable as this guy made me, I followed him into his disgusting, messy, smelly kitchen. He went into his basement and told me to wait there in the kitchen. He shut the door.
Who in the world keeps money in a basement? Well,
I stood there feeling awkward, but also nervous.
Unless there's a safe.
There was a short silence,
but
and I stood there looking.
Still, that's not necessary. Shouldn't have gone in.
What I was experiencing currently. Suddenly, there was a huge crash from down in the basement. It sounded like a big shelf holding a bunch of smaller items toppling over, followed by what was a scream for help. It seemed as though the man was hurt by whatever had fallen down. I ran to the basement door and opened it, and to my surprise looked down to see nothing but darkness. Not a single light was on. I called down into the basement, "You okay?" I heard the man moaning in apparent pain in the darkness below. I asked where the light switch was. Instead, he just kept saying, "Help." I used the flashlight on my Samsung to start walking down the noisy, creepy
Why would
stairs.
you go there?
As I got maybe halfway down, the man's moaning sound stopped, and it was completely silent. I stopped as I realized how silent it had grown, and asked if he was still okay. There was no response. Suddenly,
It's
I
a
got
trap.
really bad feeling in my gut. Something wasn't right.
Shouldn't have gone inside the house at all in the first place.
Steps, like a pebble being crushed against a concrete floor. Then there was a loud knocking at the front door upstairs. I turned and ran upstairs to open it, and it was the cop who had pulled me over about 5 minutes ago. He was holding something familiar, 2 folded pieces of paper clipped together, asking me if it was mine. It was, and I grabbed it from him. But I also told him in obvious distress that I thought something strange was going on with this man who I just delivered food to. I told him it sounded like he got injured downstairs, but that it also seemed suspicious. I showed the cop to the basement door, and with his hand on his holster, he called down into the basement. I told him there wasn't a light switch, so he took out his flashlight and started walking down the stairs slowly. I waited at the top of the stairs as he progressed to the bottom step, then disappeared from my view. I didn't wait too long before hearing a commotion downstairs. The cop seemed to be yelling in response to being attacked. The commotion ended with a gunshot.
Oh.
Then there were cries of pain, genuine cries this time. The cop called up to me to come help him get the guy upstairs. He asked me to hold the flashlight as he guided the man who was now cuffed up the stairs. All the while he was screaming in pain and at the cop. The cop brought him outside and called for an ambulance on his radio. He wanted me to stick around to sign a witness statement. I stuck around for about half an hour before I left and went home. Who would have thought the same cop who wrote me a ticket would potentially save my life 10 minutes later?
Yeah, talk about a stroke of luck. And yeah. Yeah, this is why you never go inside anyone's houses to do deliveries, even if it's in an apartment complex. Like, I remember when I used to order, whether it was Uber Eats or DoorDash, like I would order and then I would actually wait outside of the apartment complex and then do a quick exchange, then do a quick grab the food and then head back to the apartment. So yeah, seriously, never go in houses when you're doing food deliveries, because you're being set up. Alright, here we go. Number 2.
I occasionally do some deliveries for Postmates. Usually late at night after work during the week or on weekends. I use my motorcycle as it allows me to get from point A to point B faster.
True, but wouldn't the food get cold?
Named Ron. It was a 15-minute drive from the burrito place to Ron's address. When I got to the listed address,
Burritos.
Oh,
Can't go wrong with burritos.
I rang the bell, and an older
Jeez,
woman
what did I say? Stop thinking with my
said
stomach.
delivery for Ronnie, but the woman looked confused and said, "There's no Ronnie here." I apologized and said I had the wrong house. So I went back to my bike and double-checked the app, making sure I was at the right house. According to the app, I was. The house number was 15, just like listed on the app. I figured it was time to call this Ron guy to figure out if he had made a mistake with the address. I used the call feature on the app, but after one ring, it went to voicemail. So I tried texting instead, and within seconds, he replied back. I told him the address he gave me was wrong, and he swiftly said, "Yeah, sorry about that." He explained that he didn't actually live here, but that he was chilling with his friend in the preserve across the street from the house listed on the delivery.
What?
He requested I come into the nature preserve by the fire and drop it off there. He mentioned he was sorry about this.
Again, another setup.
Tip. One time before,
who in the world orders food and then asks the delivery driver to take them to a nature preserve?
It was just a slight inconvenience, but one that he'd apparently make up for with the tip. The preserve was gated, but there happened to be an opening leading into it right across the street from the house. I followed the dirt trail until the light post ended, and any further I would be walking into complete darkness. I looked around for the light of the fire, and as a matter of fact, I did see a hint of light coming from the woods. I started making my way over into the increasing darkness of the woods, leaving the lit up area. As I got closer, I could confirm it was light from the fire. Why were they in the middle of the woods, though?
Exactly.
Why they were expecting me to bring it to them out there started to ring in my head.
Suspicious.
I called Ron's name a few times when I was within yelling distance of the fire. No answer. When I got close enough, I noticed something. There was no one sitting around that campfire. I asked myself, was that the right fire? But that was a silly question. How many fires could there be on a weeknight in the preserve? I walked a little closer to the fire and noticed a tent behind it. Maybe they were in there. So once again, I yelled Ron's name as I approached the tent. It was zipped up. I tapped on the tent and said Ron's name again. So I finally unzipped the tent and knelt down to look inside. I saw someone laying down on their stomach, facing away from me, so that their shoes were only a few inches from my face. They seemed to be asleep. This was getting a bit ridiculous, so I just marked the order as delivered and turned ready to walk away. I didn't even make it a single step before noticing someone standing about 20 feet from me, between two big trees.
Oh no.
I called out, "Are you alone?" "No," I said. "My friend is just over there." The guy asked, "Why aren't you alone?" I said I do my deliveries with a partner. He asked, "Where's my food?" I was about to tell him I was in the tent, but I felt two hands grab both my legs and tried pulling me down.
Oh no.
I looked down and saw the arms reaching out from the tent. Ron, presumably the guy who I was just talking to, started charging at me. With only maybe 5 seconds to act, I did manage to escape the grasp of the two hands and run past Ron, if that was even his real name. I don't think he chased me after I left the vicinity of the fire. I found my way back to the bike easily, and I drove off without taking a second to look back. I contacted Postmates customer service about it. They told me I should escalate it to the police, as there was nothing they could do. By the time they even responded with that, I didn't even feel up to going through with a police report. I just figured I'd let it go. I got lucky and I was unharmed. Still, it taught me one thing. If your instinct tells you to turn and walk away, do it.
Yeah. Always follow your instinct. Yeah. My goodness. Nature preserves in the middle of a weeknight with a fire. Come on. No. That should have been a red flag immediately. Alright, here we go. Number 3. Burritos, burgers.
Any of those food delivery apps until recently, after learning how convenient they are. One night after a late work shift, I didn't have time to make dinner, so I ordered some Chinese food off Postmates.
Chinese food.
It was originally estimated to be delivered in half an hour. I waited a lot longer than that. Around the 45-minute mark is when I started getting impatient. I called the Postmate driver, and he picked up after a few rings. I asked him where he was. He asked, "Who is this?" I said, "Tracy, who he was delivering food for."
That's a red flag.
There was a short silence. Then he said, "Oh yes, I'm on my way." So I thanked him and hung up. I sat in my living room with the TV on, and basically just played around on my phone, dying for the Postmates driver to just show up already. Just then my phone started vibrating, and knowing that it was likely the Postmates driver calling me, I felt very relieved that the food was probably here at last. I picked up and waited for him to say something. I had to say hello like 4 times before he finally started speaking. He said he's outside. I didn't really know how to respond to that, so I said okay, and then described my house to him. Then he said something weird. He asked me to come outside to get the food. I opened my front door to check if he was there. He wasn't. I asked him where he was as I stepped out onto the front deck. There was another pause. I looked around my whole front yard and didn't see anyone. I told him I didn't see him. He said, "I see you."
Oh no.
Again, I didn't know how to respond, but the way he said it was just so creepy.
It is.
The last thing he said before I hung up the phone was, "You look really pretty." At that point, I went inside and slammed my door shut and locked it. I opened the Postmates app, and it said my food was delivered. I didn't know what was going on here, but I was growing increasingly uncomfortable. I shut off all the lights in my house and started looking out each window. I started with the living room windows. Didn't see anyone. Then I checked the dining room windows. Nothing. Next, the kitchen. Still no one. So I went down to our den, which was by the back door. I hadn't raised the curtain that morning because of work, so I pulled the string to raise it up. Only a little bit. Just enough to peek under to check the backyard. This whole time I was looking out windows. I don't think I actually expected to see someone. But when I looked under the curtain to the den window, I saw a man sitting in my back patio. He wasn't on his phone, he wasn't doing anything. He was just sitting there, as if he were waiting for me. I lowered the curtain back down, and then my phone rang. It was the guy again. I picked up, and he immediately said, "I just saw you at the window." All I said to him was, "I'm calling the cops," and I hung up. I went back to the living room and called the cops. The man on the phone said an officer would be over shortly. After I hung up, my phone kept ringing. There was the man. I kept rejecting his calls, but he wouldn't stop. Sitting there waiting for the cops.
And why aren't you
was
putting
one
your
of the most
phone in
tense moments
silent?
of my life. Eventually, there was a knock at the door, followed by a man shouting, "Police." I jumped off the couch and ran to open the door.
A little too quickly.
I was confused to see not a man in a police uniform, but some man in some dirty street clothes who gave a disturbing smile as soon as we made eye contact. He opened the storm door and tried to get in, but I pushed the front door hard enough to get it shut and lock it. He didn't bang on the door, he didn't scream anything. I think he simply ran off after that. A few minutes later, the actual police showed up, and they searched the property with me. We found the man's phone.
Oh man, my battery is going low.
The background to the phone was a white guy with a blonde girl, presumably his girlfriend. I note this because the man who was on my stoop was not white, he was Hispanic. I did a little detective work with the cops and came to the conclusion that this man was not originally my Postmates driver, that he had stolen the driver's phone somehow mid-delivery. The police confiscated the phone and left after taking a report. As far as I know, that man never returned to my house, but this was easily the scariest experience of my life.
Yeah. 3 disturbing true block party stories, 3 scary true babysitting horror stories, scary videos caught on Ring cameras, volume 4. Alright. Well, that was a lot. That's enough food for one day. So, that was 3 true disturbing Postmates / DoorDash stories. And, yeah, always be careful for the Postmates drivers, DoorDash drivers, and the customers themselves. Always be careful, because you have no idea if they're predatory or not. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. You know the drill. Please like, please subscribe. If you guys have requests, comment down below. See you guys in my next reaction. Peace.